Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Actioner product demo. This is Marin from the innovation team of Alegria Group. Today, we welcome the Actioner team to introduce themselves, show us their tools, talk about their future, and answer your question if you have some. Guys, it's whenever you want.
Cool. Thanks, Marin. This is Berkay. I'm one of the founders of Actioner. Actioner is our second startup. We used to all work together in a previous startup called Opsgenie. 2 years ago, after the acquisition of Opsgenie, we left and started this company. The primary driver maybe was that we had done a lot of work with Slack while we were in Opsgenie. We had automated a lot of our internal processes, software team and other teams around Slack. So it was all working through Slack, and we had very good developers that were building those apps to be able to deploy, and all DevOps processes, go-to-market sales related stuff all happened through Slack. It was really how we got together in a sense and communicated. We also had built an app for Opsgenie to work for our customers. Opsgenie was DevOps software, on-call management, and so on. And we had realized that our customers really wanted to stay in Slack and don't come to even Opsgenie's web UI to see who is on call or switch who is on call, get alerts and all that. So we decided that Slack should be like a first-class UI for Opsgenie, and we built a lot of functionality into it. So it was very rich, and at the time that wasn't very common yet. So it had helped us to get a lot of traction early on because people really liked that idea. So that was in our DNA, I guess, to have both for ourselves to work in Slack and also for customers to build a full-featured Slack apps. A lot of the other apps that we were seeing were basically minimal. They use Slack as a notification mechanism. When something happens, instead of sending email, they would send a message to Slack, for example. But that just scratches the surface, really. There is a lot more you can do to automate the entire processes in Slack. So we had built a much more robust app. So once we left and we were thinking about what we were doing, we had seen one particular area. Even though we built a fully featured app for Opsgenie, it worked only with Opsgenie, and we realized that a lot of the processes don't work with a single tool. So, for example, in that space, incident management is kind of what people do. It touches Jira because there are issues there. It status page updates. You do postmortem with Confluence, maybe in our tool sets, and just quite a bit of a different set of tools needs to operate, and each tool having its own app doesn't really work because you have to. They don't communicate with each other. So we had our hypothesis was that you need a single tool. Single app in Slack that talks to many different tools in the backend. And this became even more of a problem, I think, as time passed. I've heard there are over 30,000 SaaS products in the market right now. And in a typical small mid-sized company, even there are over 100 SaaS products often used, which forces the users to go from different products to do continuous process, maybe do this in there and go there kind of a thing, and each one has a different UX naturally, like built by different people. So being familiar with it is difficult, especially if you're not using that tool every day. So you go and you rediscover from the beginning, like, how do I do this, right? Even the simple process of for us, we were using Workday in Atlassian, and how to do time off. Every time we had to rediscover, like, where do you go in the UI to request time off, kind of a thing. So this complex set of products, and people had to go bounce around to figure out each one, doesn't really work. Where if you have a Slack app that people can go and then do everything from there, it has a unified, consistent interface. After a while, people get used to it, so they don't feel unfamiliar with it. And if they can do lots of things from there, then it can increase productivity significantly. And the other piece is that the information can get to them. Like, it's not just them going taking an action, but when something happens, it comes to their attention through a Slack message, and they can take action from there. So all those things make Slack, I think, is a very promising command center for people to use in their day-to-day work life. So we decided that we should build this as a platform where people can build apps themselves, unlike what we did, which was we had developers and they constantly had to build Slack apps. It's as a development platform, it's not very easy. So you have to have high quality developers, which is very hard for most businesses to dedicate to this. So we built this as a Slack app builder. Earlier, we actually tested having web interfaces, so people can come and do there, and we can have much more control and rich interfaces. But quickly, the response from the users that we gathered was they prefer to stay in Slack, even when the UI is not great, right? Like the limited, but that familiarity and being able to do what they want from there trump the fancier maybe UI that we can build for a different apps. So as you're showing in the like we have because it's a platform, you can build solutions in many different areas, from DevOps to go-to-market related stuff, human resources, any kind of business process automation, approvals, and so on. It's fairly easy to do. So we built the platform. We sort of validated whether this would work or not, and we built a bunch of apps as well, very sophisticated apps that standalone products in the market. We tested the platform to see whether can we build this app on this platform, kind of a thing, and we use that to do it as well. So that gave us the confidence that this can be used as a mechanism to build for companies to build their own apps to automate their processes and so on. One other thing that we had realized that there are apps, in the marketplace a lot, but they're all for one thing or just a specific thing, and they don't work in a cohesive manner. Again, like because they focus on a certain area. What we were finding again and again is that the apps need to really share data. So we built this platform. I'm sure you're familiar with lots of platforms in the market. It covers all that. We have workflows that you can build through a workflow designer. I'll show some of that. We have a data store, like tables to relational data that you can store. We can store documents. Again, I'll show as we go into the demo. So that's like what I call the batteries included, like everything you need to build apps that are hosted by us and to develop those apps is included in the Actioner platform. That's kind of our goal was, and we are pretty close to that. And also I'll touch later, more recently, within the last 6 months or so, we added AI capabilities into the platform in a way that is simple to add. So natural language processing was something that we wanted to have early when we were building 2 years ago. So can we have the user just type instead of going through clicking here and there? And at the time, it was too difficult to get accurate and usability level high. And with the GPT OpenAI release almost a year ago, that changed. So we've been investing into that. So we added capability so the users can add a natural language processing layer, and so like run workflows just by typing what they are. So that's the kind of what I'll go through in the demo today. Does that sound good? And anything else, you guys can ask and we can talk about it.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
Great.
So whenever you're ready.
Can you see my Slack screen?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. So this is so I'll start with the most basic thing. So the way Opsgenie works is, Actioner works is, you create workflows and you can run those workflows. Users can run from Slack, or other applications can trigger them. And this is probably the biggest difference, obviously, as I mentioned, like a lot of tools have Slack integration, but Actioner is built as a Slack app builder platform from the ground up, so it can do much more than typical, I can send a Slack message kind of a thing. So the Actioner by default, this is the way that you would run any action. It can autocomplete here, so I can just select from the dropdown. So currently, I have the Jira app and GitHub app installed and an HR app. So I can run any of those. Of course, I can type something like this and it auto-completes. So this first example is a GitHub Actions is a tool that you can run workloads, like you can, for example, deploy your software and things like that. So I just gonna show that because it's a good example of a very hard to do, the difficult interface. So I select the run workflow. It's asking me which repository I want to work with. I can basically select from the list or type and it will autocomplete. Now, based on the repository, dynamically it's showing me which workflows are in that repository. And when I select the workflow, for this workflow, it shows me what parameters I may need to define. So if I choose a different one, it would show a different set of parameters that for me to supply. This is what we call dynamic support for dynamic fields as well as custom fields. So this type of functionality is very important when you're building interfaces for things like Zendesk, Jira, or GitHub Actions in this case, where features or the properties that you need to supply change depending on other choices you make. In fact, GitHub's own interface doesn't really support this yet. So I can basically select, okay, I want to do this, and then I run it. So it basically runs the workflow with the parameters that I supplied, and the output goes to whatever is specified in the in that workflow. This concept of being able to run a workflow and that workflow can talk to external systems and do things is the core, most basic concept in Actioner. So it basically ran, deploy the software or the website based on this workflow available. I can see what it did, as it does things. It can post the updates and so on. It's essentially, as I mentioned, the core building block of Actioner. And one of the maybe differences of Actioner compared to, let's say, Zapier and so on, is that it's focused on this user interface. Like the user can initiate things and the consumption of the user, instead of this computer program or a product did this, now do this, in like syncing data and so on, which is more like a background or automation. It's designed for a human in the loop type automation. Like someone does something and someone else gets a message, they do it, and it can continue that way and so on. So this was the basic action execution in Actioner, but with a more of a complex kind of an interface with dynamic custom fields and so on. And in fact, Actioner sent me a message as well as part of that. If someone else did the same, I would get the message and I would know what happened, for example, in this example. So I'll move to a different example that also, again, shows some of the capabilities to give you an idea. This is actually one of our own in production, what we use. When someone logs in to signs up for a trial, that kicks off a workflow. And from that workflow, we go to Apollo and ask for some enrichment, from other various sources, and then post it. And I found when Lucien had first signed up, it was in here. So, so this is kind of what we would see. Like someone signed up. This is the email address, and it would create the workflow would create it in HubSpot as a contact. I can go there. It also creates a channel for that account, and future updates will be sent to there, so we can go check from there, and so on. So this is kind of a work. I'll show the workflow a little later as well, just as an example of what it looks like. But this is kind of one of the key concepts, that what we call reference actions. When that workflow ran, it also created some actions that allow me to take action from here. So for example, I can say, I want to assign this to Merve, and this would talk to HubSpot at the backend and assign the ownership of that lead or contact to that person. So this is a again interaction with HubSpot, where I can look at from here what the user did before they signed up, like which website, web pages they've visited and so on. So it's often important for us, if they came from Zendesk, it's related to maybe our Zendesk app and so on. So I can see that from here. I can also see the activities of the user after they signed up. These are basically also workflows that we ran, and in the background, it takes information from Amplitude, our product marketing analytics tool, and then presents here. So this is like what type of events, how many events they executed, after the sign up and so on. So that gives us an idea. Okay, they did add a connection. They also ran an action and so on, type of thing. So this is something we use internally as every time there's a sign up in our account. So if I go here, I can probably find, there you go. Yeah. So this is the app that we have for our own usage, as I mentioned, and so this is the workflow designer we have. So it's basically gets the sign up and then looks for whether we have that user already in there. And if it's new, goes and checks from Apollo, lookup essentially for enrichment as a user or as also for the company. And then it posts that as you have seen, maybe like here. This is the Lucien's information, company, found the company, and so on, LinkedIn, whatever it can find from social media as well. So it does basically some conditional logic. So if someone else from Allegria logs in, it doesn't create another channel. It's a one basically channel created per account. All that is done through that. It's a typical You click on and then you configure from the left, kind of a concept, I guess, when you select it. So this is the notion we have.
Okay.
What we found is that this concept is very high productivity when information comes in and the actions that you need to take are right in the message as reference actions. I'll pause there a bit. Does that sound okay? You know, in your experience, I don't know. Like I'm assuming you guys are using all these tools, so at least the concept is familiar to you.
Yeah, it was very, very clear. Thank you. We have several questions for you. The first one I've got when I see your demo isn't that too many notifications with all the ping you can have?
So it can be, but the control is all on you. So like this is you kind of decide which ones to go in. So the business channel is like one per sign up, but we also create a channel per sign up, and only the people who are interested in that would go into that. So one of the potential uses of that is that we create actually the Slack Connect type connections with the customers so that we can help them.
Okay.
And I'll show the AI related capabilities later. When you send a message, we can use that message through AI to figure out, is it still sales billing related? Is it technical question? And based on that, invite different people into the channel so that they can address it. But not everybody has to look at all the messages. We find this channel-based separation is fairly good.
Very clever. Yeah, of course. So I've got some question more about the pricing or some roadmap.
Sure.
I can pin it on screen for you. Currently, you focus exclusively on Slack. When will you be available on Teams or Discord or maybe some other?
Yeah, we actually wanted to go deep on Slack and to get the concept right before we branched onto Teams, which will be the next that we will do. I suspect within a couple of months we'll have the Teams integration ready. We are fairly confident with where the platform is right now. We are able to build apps that, when we see an app, can we build it with this? Or when the customer asks, like a year ago, the answer was, okay, we are missing this part. Like we don't have storage, scheduled jobs to run it periodically, like the documents were necessary and so on. So we feel like platform is fairly complete. There will be incremental improvements, but all the core capabilities are there. Now we can expand horizontally to do more integrations, and the Teams will be, sort of a Slack level integration where you can do. We looked at the capabilities. It looks like it's not missing anything. So that we think it'll be feasible to do that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. The next one is more about the pricing. What is your model? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Currently, our model is based on usage. So it's sort of a cloud, AWS type pricing, I guess. Every time a node executes, it's a credit kind of a thing. This is we would certainly like to hear what you guys think at a different time. We are more used to the user-based pricing, but we realize that some people only run 2 commands a month, from 2 workflows a month. Others use every day. So it's the user-based pricing wasn't fair, especially in larger companies. If you say, okay, you have 1,000 users, each is going to pay $10, like it's a lot of money if they're not heavily using it. So we adapted this default pricing is usage based with a freemium market, like up to 10,000 credits free, and then you can see what would it look like, and then we can make a sort of a plan according to that. But we are also contemplating app-specific user-based pricing. So if all you want to do is our time off app, like for example, we have a time off app to manage all your time off. It's $1 a user. You don't have to worry about how much I'm using and so on. Like we will support that pricing. It'll take probably a few weeks to implement. Right now, just usage based is what we have available. But we are kind of measuring the the reaction in the market. We think this is the fairest, like the more you use, the more you pay kind of stuff. But people also seem to want to have some deterministic, like I know I'm going to pay only this much kind of some customers. So we're trying to see whether we can address those
of course.
concerns.
Okay. Another one, really interesting. When to use Actioner versus Zapier or Make, for example?
So Actioner is more of I would say somewhere in between Airtable and like those type of Bubble and so on, and these Zapier and Make. They are more of automation integration platforms. Like when this happens, send a message or update this kind of things. Where Actioner was built as a Slack app builder, and there's humans involved. So it's not like if this happens in HubSpot, go do this in MailChimp. You can do that with our as well, but we don't have thousands of integrations, at least not yet, like Zapier does. But if you want to do something like when this happens, you should go to this channel, and when someone clicks approve, then it should go to somebody else. Type of an apps that you're automating human processes. You want to use some AI. I'll show some of the examples and so on. Actioner is the right tool for it. For Actioner, the interface is Slack, maybe later Teams and so on, as opposed to a spreadsheet like Airtable and etc.
Okay. And so last one to conclude. I believe you will be at the Nocode Summit. Where and when can we meet you?
Emel will be there. Maybe she can answer if she's connected.
I can try to, if she's
there.
I can
I'll be there full time both days. We'll be joining one of the panels, and we'll be meeting you guys the rest of the time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks
a lot for
message
this.
Up front, so we can probably set some time where to meet and so on.
There will be coffee if you want to grab some.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for this product demo.